Elise, so much trouble being given from Elise in the early game. A long-range initiation stun, gap closer. Nobody wants that coming into the lane, especially we saw what they were doing last game.
Yeah, exactly.
As I just mentioned.
The thing with the Elise ban as well, that's a pick that Impaler's been using very, very well in the Challenger circuit.
Impaler, right.
Impaler's the jungler that's come over to SHC, actually the old Dignitas UK roster. And I'm very interested about the Lucian and Vayne bans. And the reason for that, SK Gaming have first picked Lucian in a couple of 3.14 games that I've seen him playing. And we actually seen CandyPan on Twitter saying, when I need to win, when I need to go carry hard mode, I pick Vayne. Now, that is primarily focused towards solo queue, but it's solo queue play that feeds through into competitive.
And he only likes to get that Vayne if they have the support that they can get. Something with that stun.
Yeah, definitely.
Something they can double up, crushing whoever they're in lane against. But speaking, I believe, with Expeke, they're like, and obviously when you run a Vayne, he's like, maybe they don't want to run the 2v1 lane. Let's see what is going on to the side of SHC, though. Shyvana, Ori pick up quite quick out of the gate, and they're just saying, already controlling some team fights.
So what we're seeing from the Orianna and Shyvana pickup, it's just very strong picks. Renekton is still available if they wanted to go double bruiser, and this is something that SK have done in many of their scrims. I was chatting to Peke about the team and what they like to do. And when SK Gaming can get their hands on two bruisers, like an Olaf and a Mundo, or Renekton and a Mundo, something like that, they like to pair it with a Sivir. Similar composition to what Dignitas ran earlier.
Press our run.
Yeah, but with the idea being it works out better than it worked out for Dignitas.
Yes.
In this time round, though, they have locked in their Eve. You can't deny the power of the vision, and we'll see how well Svenskeren works with it.
It's going to be very interesting knowing that Elise is out, the Eve is in, so we'll see if Svenskeren and Freddy can work that together. The Mundo has been picked up. We've been seeing him banned in, played as well. After the first few games, he was completely banned out, and he's been seeing bans, so the late game Mundo to come in would be very nice. And our first Ezreal coming in as well. Yeah,
Ezreal Sona, safe lane, I think sustain lane. I don't know if they want to actually go for any sort of head-to-head matchup here. We might see Nif consider going a Karma support if they want to go for the mobility side. Annie, on the other hand, is then they're just that stun. Annie Sivir is a heavy kill lane. If Sona gets caught out, if Mixer is stunned,
that HP.
You add Ricochet and Boomerang Blade, and that is going to be a dead support. So we may actually see SHC trying to go for a lane swap because, you know, Sivir Annie is just going to crush Ezreal Sona in the early game.
Both top laners going to fare all right in that 2v1 as they switch it up. Calling out the Karma. Very nice. They do lock that in. We've been seeing that synergizing with the Sivir so much with the run comps, the chase down. We'll see if they can put that to great effect as they get into the matchup. We have the last pick for Migza coming in here. We're looking for the jungler, and they're going to hover Vi. Vi's seen 2 plays so far, possibly back in the game.
Yeah, Vi's still a strong champion, especially when you consider if you want to lock down a Zed or a Sivir in this regard. Vi's going to be one of the best. The key is that Mimo on Shyvana is going to need to follow it up with an Orianna ball because the Vi-Shyvana combo needs to kill either Zed or Sivir. And if they don't instantly delete them, Dr. Mundo and Evelyn are great at cleaning up. So there's a lot of emphasis here on Super Hot Crew, finding a target, getting rid of them, and then dealing with the rest, because I think the cleanup potential from SK with the Mundo, the Eve, the speed and the mobility they have, they are going to run down Super Hot Crew any day of the week.
They do have the teleports to get in, disengage or engage, as you were talking about. We'll have to see. The lanes pretty much need to win. It's going to have to be that, or the Super Hot Crew, I should say, put their name in there. Because if they do get to that point where they want to fight, it's just going to be the run over for SK, it seems.
I also feel like the Super Hot Crew composition, maybe with the exception of Shyvana, is a 2013 season comp. You know, Sona, Ezreal, Orianna. You've got the ball delivery system with the Vi and the Shyvana. But I feel like on the current patch, SK Gaming have done better during the pick and ban phase.
It's funny you say that, is because we almost see that teams are really going and reverting to that since they don't know how to straighten it out yet. So now that the teams are locked in and loading onto the Rift, let's see who you think is going to win this promotion tournament matchup. According to LOLesports.com, 70% of you think that SK Gaming will be back in the LCS this spring. And remember, our broadcast continues tomorrow with Team Solo Mid and the Lemon Dogs throwing down in the Battle of the Atlantic, followed by Ninjas in Pajamas taking on KMT in the promotion tournament.
2 massive games coming up tomorrow, and we'll have to see how the Lemon Dogs perform. The untested squad, as it were. We are, of course, loading up into this matchup. SK Gaming on the blue side, taking on Super Hot Crew on the red side.
And we are onto the Rift.
We are onto the Rift. Game 1, this is a best of 5, of course. Don't forget that fact. They need to get 3 victories under their belt. And as I was saying, in terms of the champion pool, I have not seen much Zed on Jezz's. So this is going to be an exploratory champion as far as I'm concerned. It's not one I've seen too much, but he can instantly kill the Ezreal and the Sona in team fights. We'll have to see how well Moops' Orianna gets in the later stages of this game.
Trinkets, much looking like Alliances on SK's side. All those yellows in the beginning, and then they switch to, I don't know if they're going to go for the orb, as Wicked did, but they do get the 3 sweepers out, so we'll keep an eye on those as well. Watching them set up completely safe going into this one, which we've basically seen all the time. In our first game yesterday, we did see that the Eve was knowingly going to be invaded. Doesn't seem like we're going to have any of that.
Yeah, the level 1 fan out is basically what this is. You cover every entrance to your jungle, play it safe, and what we are seeing is a head-to-head matchup. It does look like we're going to be getting those 1v1, 2v2 lanes. And very interestingly, Mix's Sona has decided to go with that Spellthief's Blade. So looking to put a lot of poke down. And I don't know if this is the best call. Jats actually called this out yesterday, if I recall, highlighting that when you've got that item, you're quite easy to predict. You know every 10 seconds they want to generate the gold. You know they're coming into you. So you're going to be eating some poke from Karma and Sivir, and Sona doesn't deal very well with high damage early.
We'll have to see how he decides to play that lane. It is going to be the duo matchup. In the bottom, we'll see the junglers starting in their Orthodox. Actually, it's going to be the red buff, so it may be bottom entry coming in for Impaler if he wants to start something soon in that lane. The wards have gone down, so nobody's actually going to have any idea where their junglers are. I think this is the first time we haven't even seen a Wraith ward. Yeah,
not going deep at all, playing it very, very safe. And again, this is another trend that we do see in these promotion matches. With so much on the line, you tend to play a little reserved, a little slower in the early stages. Think back to MYM Copenhagen Wolves yesterday. It took 35 minutes, and then everything just exploded. Then they settled in, and there was back-to-back aces and non-stop fights. And this may be the case in this setup.
Already the pokes coming in from both sides. That level 2 is going to help on sustain, though, so it could shift very easily. Keep an eye on this bottom lane for right now. Big damage onto Nif, and this is only level 1 from both of them. If Haydale had that E, he might have gone in on the shift.
Yeah, very good poke coming down from Mixer and Haydale. Mixer doing the best he can to keep tabs of that gold. We'll keep an eye on how much gold is actually generating and compare it to the Ancient Coin, which Nif has picked up. Candy Panda trades with Haydale, though, and it doesn't look like they're going all in just yet.
They did hit that level 2 quick, and you saw a bit of movement, but nothing else coming from them yet. Finally getting that red buff and the blue buff, one after the other on each side. The junglers, a few more minutes before they poke their heads out into the lane. And the aggression, still, even though they're getting poked, Candy and Nif are trying to hold that strong.
Yeah, but look at the numbers difference already. Because of the emphasis Mixer and Haydale's putting on applying damage to Candy Panda and Nif, he's down an entire wave of CS, 14-8. We'll keep tabs on how that number grows, but he's missed out on 6 lost hits thanks to the emphasis on poking. Svenskeren managed to sneak himself up. He's 50% HP there or thereabouts, and double buffs. So we'll have to see how quickly he can get in and apply that slow.
Svenskeren coming around the corner. None of these wards have been used in the bottom lane yet. We'll have to see if Impaler can read this just as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a 3v3. It does look like
right on the Migza. They go on. It's going to be the double buff onto him. He gets the flash, but they take him down. And it's going to be Candy Panda already. Can he pull up a kill? The Retribution fight to continue. Svenskeren with the red buff proc. He is going to be slowed, but nothing else is going to match it. No, can he get the Q? And he can't get it past Nif.
Great play there by SK. The body block by Nif to make sure that those skill shots were going to catch his backside instead of Svenskeren's. And he gets out cleanly. First blade secured for Candy Panda. And Sivir is already incredibly strong in this patch without having that additional gold.
See how these guys are playing it. Don't have that Ori leveling E in middle. Oops is actually trying to go for W against Jesses, so this will be interesting for him. We can see him somewhat losing that lane, but already the aggression set into motion here in that bottom lane. And Impaler tried to read that, but took the long way around.
Yeah, just got into that lane too late. He was on the same page. He anticipated that, with SK being overextended, there was a gank opportunity. Unfortunately, he got there about 5 or 10 seconds late, and SK Gaming secure the first kill in this series. In terms of this mid lane right now, we did see Jez going onto Moops a little earlier.
A little tough.
He's had to, burn through that potion that he had in his back pocket, and taking a lot of poke. Jez is doing well at keeping Moops low, but it's not affecting his CS abilities just yet.
I believe it was Charu yesterday taking the exhaust on his Orianna as well. I'm going to have the barrier here on Moops, the more regularly used. We'll see if that works for him. He likes to get low under the turret. He was almost playing it there, as we saw. 5 minutes in, That kill in the bottom lane doesn't seem to slow things down, but nothing yet coming from Svenskeren. He feels like he can work his jungle right now.
Yeah, and Candy Panda and Nif very, very confident with Svenskeren's jungle presence because they've been pushing this lane since the game began. They've been sitting at Super Hot Crew's tower. You can see that Sven was just clearing out his golem camp and got a little bit of vision, but not too afraid of Impaler, not afraid of Vi's pre-6 ganks. And I think that's the right decision. Until that Assault and Battery is there, there's not a lot of CC offered from that Vi's kit, a tiny little knock-up, and maybe a slow from red buff. So very good, decisive play here from SK in the opening minutes.
You got to be careful. It does look like Impaler's going to back. He may have hit 6 on that wave, and it wouldn't have turned out so well trying to dive a Mundo. They choose right there. 1-0 is still the kills and a little bit of gold lead just because of that. But it is even more because of this CS. 42-36, 36-30, which is being creeped up on by Haydale. He's not letting that get to him, that they got that kill in the bottom lane against them. And
just interesting note, in terms of the different gold generation, Nif has already earned himself roughly 120 gold with that ancient coin. Over on the other side, it's only 78 as Moops has been jumped on.
Going on, he does try to get the death mark down. The barrier will be used. He will be quite safe, and he's just going to take out a few potions. Now that does take out the aggression, so we'll have to see if they try to go on to Zadir.
That's just asserting lane control here from Jez's. It's about a 2-minute cooldown on that Living Shadow death mark going in. And they managed to burn the barrier, and if the death mark comes up again, Moops is at insta-gib range, basically, because he's not going to have that additional chunk of HP.
And we got to look at, also, as you go to team comp, since the lanes aren't really fighting each other, how are they going to be able to mitigate right away? You got 2 hard ADs they're going to try to carry, but then you have a lot of magic damage to deal with coming from SK.
Yeah, it's very difficult to itemize defensive, as right now Mixer does get caught out. Candy Panda decides not to go in, and that's the key to these fights. You have to decide who is the biggest threat, and judging by the way the game is currently going, the AD damage might be the one that you need to itemize against first.
Okay.
Pick up the likes of maybe not a Frozen Hearts, Randuin's Omen.
Hey.
Get some defense, get some HP in there, slow them down, and that will allow you to kite around Mundo and Eve as well. But it's still a long way away from getting to those items. And you can see with Mima having to deal with Dr. Mundo in the top lane, he's actually picked himself up the Negatron Cloak. There's a lot of magic damage that comes down from Dr. Mundo.
Still Poke trying to go in down to Candy Panda. He gets the shield in. I believe he still has his spell shield up, and he does not get it procced on that one, so it's going to be a cooldown wasted. And they do get a good bit of aggression there on a few tiny mistakes.
Very good play by Haydal and Mixer, just asserting control in that lane, dropping Candy Panda and Nif's HP. The sustain from Karma is significantly less than that from Sona.
Yeah.
So that's going to allow them to get some breathing room in that lane, manage to sit back, farm a little bit safer, and now that we're getting to the later stages of the game, that Impaler has Assault and Battery, you can see that Candy Panda and Nif are a little more hesitant at throwing themselves deep down the lane. They don't want to put themselves in a position where Impaler can come in unless they're 100% confident in their play. As you can see, Jesus and Svenskeren moving to the jungle, Candy Panda and Nif, they move up the lane as well.
This is what needs to happen. Somebody needs to make some plays. If it doesn't work, you know you tried. If you don't throw the blitz hook, you never get any grabs.
That's the case. Impaler in that tri-bush. I still want to see what Svenskeren and Jez's are thinking. They may have mistimed that blue buff. I think they were hoping to intercept
somebody coming over.
Moops or Impaler into the jungle, and they just got there a bit late. The blue buff already been secured, so the attempted gank actually failed there.
Well, the bit of the lead, they have time to do things like that. Good amount of focus here. Mimer going in, seeing if he can get back for himself. He knows the lane's a bit pushed to the middle. No reason to push that to the turret and wait for it to come back. Svenskeren continuously taking his buffs. Doesn't need to deliver that to any of his other teammates, that is. We'll have to see if he makes an appearance here with a lane gank in the bottom lane.
And you can see here, Candy Panda and Nif still growing this lead in the bottom lane, holding on to a CS advantage. They have hit level 6. Nif is very close to it. As you can see, in comes Svenskeren from the side. He does have the Agony's Embrace available. So if Haydal and Mixer go a little too far forward, they are going to be collapsed upon in this 3v2. And Impaler, once again, he's moving through the jungle, but he's going to get you way too late if a fight breaks out.
Just sitting in the wing like a shark, trying to come out. He is totally predicting this right now. It will save, but he's going to be able to turn on Impaler. Good damage there, down to 50% health. He goes over the wall. Will they be able to continue this? Svenskeren says, Mystic shot to the backside. Let's pinch him in. They are going to go for the kill. He does go for the flash onto that one, but he's going to be fine in the mid lane anyways.
Yeah, flash isn't going to get you out of the range of that death mark, and Jesus picks up his first kill of the game. That's definitely going to help now. He's got that Brutalizer and the Vamp Scepter already built. That's definitely going to work into his favor. And The early power of the Shyvana working in Mimer's favor.
Oh, flash initiation from the crescendo. The true shot barrage to catch it and finish it off. Very nice kills there. I was just about to say, SK has SHC on the mark. They found him in the jungle every time and have always been working on where Impaler is.
Yeah, very good play there on that bottom lane by Super Hot Crew. Instantly just reacting to an opportune moment. Nif didn't back after the kill, was a little low on HP, and they managed to burst him down. And that's what Super Hot Crew have to do as we get to this mid game. They have to blow up a squishy so that their tanky champions of Shyvana and Vi can deal with Mondo and Eve. And if they don't blow up a squishy like Zed, Siv, or Karma, I'm a little bit afraid if the fight prolongs and draws out.
Absolutely. Push mid lane coming in from Zed. We'll see what happens here. Moving his way in. Looks like he could get some damage here. Impaler coming in for the side. They go for the double ultimate. Command Shockwave into Assault and Battery, and they are able to arrest him.
I think that's just a bit of overconfidence from Jez's. I feel like he didn't have a very big minion wave there. He wasn't necessarily attacking the tower. He didn't have vision at the time other than the ward that he put down himself. So ends up giving up a kill. We'll have to play a little bit more defensive. Can't underestimate the damage of your opponents. And thanks to the kill, Super Hot Crew are now starting off the dragon. They've pulled it out. They've leashed it far enough back. So Karma's Inner Flame's not going to be able to reach. And they're going to secure that one completely uncontested.
The Smite was down, so that was... Oh, Smite was up. It didn't even use it.
Nope. Wasn't needed. Wasn't needed. Played it a bit safe there. Yeah. Fast and loose, as it were.
I don't know how safe that was. Nif on the other side, but did play it right. 16-7, 16-6, so that's going to help him out with a little bit of that cash flow. 12 minutes on the clock, and it's been, like I said, the rotation. Svenskeren finding Impaler when he's trying to make something work. He's on his clock.
So interestingly, we're 12 minutes into the game, teleport's not been used once.
That's
Freddy's had the ability to use it. I didn't see if he'd used it to get to lane in the very early stages, but even so, no aggressive plays. He hasn't used it to get into a lane to try push it down. Didn't use it to try to contest Dragon, decided to play that one safe. So we'll have to see as and when Freddy and Mimer decide to get involved in these fights, because they've basically been solo farming 106 CS to 112. They've basically ignored each other this whole game, and it's going to see who has a greater impact in their opponent's team.
Can you leave that Shyvana alone? She's just going to go ahead and push you right into your turret.
It does look like the bottom lane, something's going to happen. As they've thrown it down. There's Mixer.
Mixer getting taken down quite low. He throws down the crescendo to the left side. The damage is coming from behind, but he just didn't want to get the assist coming in from Eve, and it happened anyway.
Yeah, very well done by SK. Once again, just throwing themselves in, not hesitating. Svenskeren going to potentially have to move up to this mid lane because Jesus is backed. He's very low on HP. He's going to lose a lot of tower damage. Actually, this tower's going to go down. Nobody's going to be able to respond to this, and Super Hot Crew just finding a chink in SK Gaming's armor, secure the first tower of the game.
This is going to be good money coming in for the mid, and that is great pressure towards the side, or side buffs, to the buffs in general. Both red and blue a little bit more accessible now coming in for SHC. We'll have to see if they start to aggress that, because it's been Svenskeren taking all of them. So if they can start shutting him down, they start shutting down what the potential for the kills have been. Yeah,
and I want to highlight some differences we're seeing from the Evelyns of yesterday. Makata was actually running that Spirit of the Ancient Golem on Eve. He likes to play the tanky Evelyn, you know, generate some defensive stats. And Eve is not a champion that I feel trends toward that. Play a tanky jungler if you want to play a tank. Yeah. Eve is, in my mind, more of an aggressive jungler, and you can see it now, Svenskeren. He's got the Sorcerer Shoes completed, he's got the Spirit of the Spectral Wraith. It no longer applies Spell Vamp, but does give you that HP and mana back when you're in the jungle, so you sustain so incredibly well, which allows you to respond to ganks more often, because you don't have to back and heal up. And you can see it, Svenskeren 003 focused all of his attention on the bottom lane, but it's working, and that's the key point.
See what these top laners have put their gold into. The junglers still milling about their jungle. Pink Ward's already coming down here. SHC with a bit of that gold lead wants to grab all of these positions, and we know what Pink Wards mean. It means you feel you have enough control of that area to keep that Pink Ward there. So they feel like they're actually gaining good lead here.
And you need to have some Pink Wards down just to get at least an idea of where that Evelyn is. The psychological pressure it puts on you is terrifying. And what you're seeing now is that the dragon was down. It will be coming up in the not too distant future. So SK trying to get some control of the dragon area, clearing out the wards, and very, very importantly for them, they want to set up some control. You can notice Nif has changed from the warding totem to now the sweeping lens. So he wants to deny vision as well to gain control of the dragon pit to either challenge for it or secure it themselves. And Mimer, once again, with that lane cutting, farming between towers, he's not afraid of anyone, and nobody's even challenging him.
Still taking down the white when he can to get back into lane, usually as it's always reset, so it works for him. He doesn't miss very much. You can see Svenskeren just always being a shark in the wing, and he's again right on top of where Impaler is, but they see him this time. He's able to flash out. Quite a bit was used for him, and they're going to keep going on to this. Mundo with a teleport in. We heard what Alvarin said. Arnea says when Mundo's already in the fight, it means it's already over.
They're going to secure themselves a kill. Candy Panda gets another one. You're actually seeing in the background, Mixer was dropped. And SK Gaming with a clean 3 for 0 as Dragon's coming up in 2 minutes. So they may push this tower down, set up a ring of wards, and then come to re-engage on the Dragon. So great play coming out of SK, and once again, stamping some authority in this early stages of this series.
Small bits of gold going back and forth. Now in favor of SK. Mimer looking to change that a bit for himself as he takes down the turret. Oh, no, that was their turret. Now takes down the turret in the top lane. Thank you, but very good job by SK. They take Dragon, they take another turret. They're getting more than just the kills.
Yeah, SK are definitely working themselves towards a very strong position. They've got 4 kills up. They're still down a tower, but they've generated themselves about 1,500 gold. It's not massive numbers right now, but the way that they're executing their maneuvers just seems to be more coordinated and controlled. And it's what they need to do to actually close out this game. Be the ones to engage, be the ones to shut down your opponents, and then take objectives after it. 1 minute before this Dragon respawns, and you can see the bottom lane moving back into lane. This is a very extended laning phase, 17 minutes on the clock, and with the exception of Svenskeren's involvement, very little lane intermingling.
I was speaking with Jat about trinkets, and he was saying once they grab that Sightstone, you go for the sweeper, and it doesn't seem, or hasn't been back to it yet. He's got his Ruby, but still sitting on that is Migza, and it's not a problem. A different change of play, though, keeping the jungler on the sweeper. We'll see if they go for any more as the game continues.
Yeah, I definitely feel like once a team starts getting more control over certain areas of the map and certain zones of the map, it's worth in changing to your sweepers, like we've seen Alliance doing in the previous series.
Right.
Once they got control of Dignitas's jungle, then they switched. They had 3 sweeping lenses.
Yeah, they got quite
And that's it. When you're invading, you deny the vision, get rid of those wards, and just maintain control of the map. But it is, of course, on a time cycle. Dragon's up in 8 seconds, and you can immediately see that Nif wants to get vision. He wants to get wards down, because this is going to be where the next fight will break out.
There's a big item step up for Mooks. He does have his Zanya's finish, so he could negate that damage of the death mark. We'll have to see. They could be going 5-on-5 here, pinching it in. Mundo, no teleport to start this.
Yeah, the rest of SK was not in the right place. Now, Mimer is playing zone control. Dragon does get secured by Impaler. Now, Nif is in trouble. Wait for Assault and Battery. If Impaler can get range, Nif's going to be in trouble. Manages to keep out of range.
Oh, looks like they were trying to flex their muscles, but they dropped the dumbbell on that one. It's going to be the command shockwave coming in. A beautiful hit up. Svenskeren goes down. Justice takes down Haydale. The ADC is out of the fight, but it's going to be the Dragon coming in. Breathing Fire double kill for Mimer as they start to clean this one up. A quadra kill for Mimer coming in onto Freddy. Will they give it to him? The HP is just too much. They're walking away, but he might go down.
What?
They tried to leave him for the kill, but they left him for dead.
Unbelievable. Mundo goes where he pleases and denies the pentakill. Super Hot Crew secure the Dragon and win a massive, massive team fight to pull themselves back into it.
Let's see this
Here's
again.
a replay of the fight. Now, initially, SK Gaming are split up. Candy Panda is nowhere near the rest of his team. And as he joins the fight, it's a little bit too late. They do get a very good engage from Svenskeren, thanks to that Agony's Embrace. But fact of the matter is, SK Gaming just grouped up a little too slowly. Candy Panda untouched, but the amount of damage that's coming down from Mimer's Shyvana, he's tearing through absolutely everybody. And some very, very good control coming out of Super Hot Crew allows them to actually win that fight. It was a 5 for 3, if memory serves correctly. And Freddy, too much regen on that Dr. Mundo, does manage to deny the pentakill. Gets a massive shutdown gold. And at the end of the day, Super Hot Crew in a very commanding position after the fight, but they didn't convert it to any other objectives.
I don't think Freddy knew he was going to do that. He was lacing up his shoes when he was over by White, and he's like, hang on, guys, just kite the fight, and I'll be there in a second.
So the question that we asked a few moments ago, or a couple of minutes ago, was who's going to have a bigger impact in those team fights? Dr. Mundo and Shyvana are the decisive factors in these fights going forward. You've seen just how much havoc they wreak.
Consistent AoE damage in a small area.
And the problem with SK is you can't invest in trying to blow Mimer up, because you're not going to do it. He's got that Spectre's Cowl, he's got the makings of a Sunfire Cape. It's going to take a lot of investment to blow him up. and it's going to allow the rest of Super Hot Crew to clean up the fight. So SK now need to find a pick, need to find a way to catch SHC off guard and be grouped from the beginning. Make sure that they work together as opposed to a 3-on-1 with, you know, Candy Panda coming in late.
The itemization here of Moobs coming in, helping the team out greatly. The Morello Namicon going to shut down that Mundo under 40% HP, so that could be huge play coming in. Freddy was very low there. That would have been Freddy, or that would have been Mick Mimer's kill rather, if that was already on the page. Triforce being finished up by the AD carry to an already finished up Bloodthirster and Last Whisper, so a huge discrepancy there.
Now all of a sudden, Super Hot Crew going in, they've caught Nif!
Oh, Nif, a little too far out there. Doesn't look like anybody's going to be able to help him. 9-8 at 20 minutes in.
Candy Panda's left unchecked in the bottom lane. As long as SK Gaming can keep Super Hot Crew a little bit busy and maybe defend a tower, Candy Panda may be able to get an inner turret of his own. Here comes Impaler. They're trying to catch Freddy, but he's just going to throw down that ultimate and get a massive amount of HP back.
See what they can do off of this. The gold's still very close in the game, which is why it seems like it's anybody's game. Didn't stop on the bottom turret. Gonna go ahead and trade that one, but he's gonna keep going, and he has a huge wave behind him.
He's gonna be able to get a couple of auto attacks down, but will need to back away. So they trade inner turret for inner turret, and nobody's really interrupting the recalls. I think SK could have done a slightly better job at delaying those backs, but they didn't want to run the risk of giving up any more kills. So they trade towers. It's now 2-3, with both teams losing inner turrets in the top and bottom lane respectively.
Slow things down, because that's what the players are doing. They're kind of taking a breather. Items being finished out, as we said. Not much more for the AD carries after a bit of an engagement. Karma, Sork Boots into the Haunting Guise. Going to be quite a bit of damage coming out from that one, and even helps to make it harder to mitigate that. We see the Spirit Visage and just Tank Mundo coming out. But more Deathfire Grasp on Evelyn is going to be huge. The
scary thing about SK's composition is they're mostly going Glass Cannon here.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of HP on Nif's build, and of course, you cannot deny the tankiness that Dr. Mundo offers, but I feel like Shyvana's going to do a better job at jumping onto your carries and killing them than what Dr. Mundo's going to do. Dr. Mundo runs interference. He disrupts team fights. Right. He's a threat, but he's not necessarily, I'm going to kill your AD carry in a couple of hits, because he doesn's have that twin bite that Shyvana's going to be making use of with the Blade of the Ruined King. So as long as SK can sort of kite around Mimer while dealing damage to everyone else, that's the only way I can see them really winning these team fights.
So it's got to be a fight with a split push going on, and you can almost see them grouping up. They're saying, you want a ward? We want to kill here. They're going to save that one out for themselves. Keep ping pressure, and there's the engagement. Karma trying to turn it on. The Zhonya's is only going to last for so long. The crescendo comes out, and it was blocked by the spell shield. Shockwave also trying to deter the fight, and here's Mimer. He comes in and throwing everything out. His ult is up, but he's saving it. They know not to fully engage.
Yeah, there goes Mimer, though. Dragon's Descent down. Jesus is in trouble.
He gets the proc out of the Blade of the Ruined King. Is it enough? The breath and the Q from Haydale to finish it up over the shoulder of Mimer.
Trading 1 for 1, and again, SK not necessarily all on the same page. That fight broke out as SK was trying to move towards Dragon, but they were early. It's only up in 20 seconds, and Jez is running away from his team. He was cut off by the SHC re-engage and ended up costing his life. Still advantage to Super Hot Crew in that fight. Nif and Freddy now, they want to play with Mimer.
Oh, Mimer, that ultimate is down. He doesn't have much to get away right now, except for a team, and that's one of the best things to have.
Definitely going to help him out. He was at about 2,000 HP when that started. They chunked about 1,000 HP off, but he still just, he shrugged it off. He just carried on walking and managed to get out. Now Dragon has respawned. A lot of key ultimates are down, and SK Gaming should be able to pick this up before SHC can even contest.
They are going to need it. The gold still coming very close. Oh, woo, Mooper. I thought he was going to get followed up on there, doing a little window shopping. Got himself hurt.
Yeah, don't window shop. If you press recall,
he was probably
do it somewhere safe.
I like to say the window shopping.
Yeah, it's a good term. I like that too. I will be using that in future. Thank you, Riff. Right now, Super Hot Crew still maintain a gold lead thanks to the very, very good fights in that Dragon from earlier in the matchup. CS numbers still sitting fairly close across the board, but Candy Panda is really snowballing ahead. He's generated over 50 CS lead at the 25-minute mark. He's sitting very close to that 10 CS a minute. And I still feel like he's the key to an SK Gaming victory. If he can use that on the hunt, the mobility of Siv's ultimate, and allow SK Gaming to run around Super Hot Crew, not stay clumped, not get caught by a crescendo and a shockwave, that to me is the moment to pick up a win. Right now, Candy Panda, split pushing, no reply, picks himself up yet another tower.
their SHC is just kind of hanging out in middle. Like, they obviously don't have a minion wave, but this is perfect timing by SK. They can't push middle, we'll double split push, and they can't even push us.
Yeah, and the amounts of sort of AoE damage that you have coming out of Jez. Oh, they've caught Mimer again.
Oh, Mimer does try to get out Dragon Form. He should be okay on this one. Will they decide to continue? You see the ball there for disengage or re-engage, and it looks like it is going to be the back one.
Yeah, Jez and Nif have got very good wave clear, thanks to Karma and Zed having a lot of AoE damage. So that's why they held onto the tower for sort of 1 or 2 waves more. But once Super Hot Crew grouped and had a couple more members, SK were too afraid of a dive under the tower. Now all of a sudden, SK have got position on this mid tower. But look at Mimer. He's coming around from the side if they want to pick a fight.
Doesn't have that ultimate up, but he is still a pretty big dragon right now. That Blade and Sunfire Cape finish, which helps him out with that burnout damage as well. Helps him out, but combines with that burnout damage as well. Freddy looking to maybe start something for the team from the side. You can see him and Svenskeren always roaming together as a pack.
Yeah, whenever you play Evelynn, the best way to engage is from the side. You want to 4-on-1, come in, catch 3 or 4 members with that Agony's Embrace. Thanks to the positional play, it's going to allow SK to actually secure this blue buff, steal that away, and I think they donated it to Candy Panda, actually. Just going to allow him to spam out those boomerang blades and those ricochets, and he's actually picked himself up a Black Cleaver. So that's a great pickup in my mind, thanks to the fact that Ricochet bounces infinitely. So every single target it bounces to, as long as there is a new target to hit once, it will shred their armor. Now SK, they're going to jump on this tower. There's not enough members of Super Hot Crew to defend, and all of a sudden, SK just brute forced themselves 1 tower.
There's the outer 3, trying to go for the Assault Breaker. Couldn't get it in too easily. We're going to see him coming out from the backside. They're trying to press in, though. Svenskeren just kind of hanging back. They're kind of feeling each other out right now. That mid turret stood for quite a long time, and you have to consider that SHC took down the mid of SK quite a long time ago, but they haven't really gone anywhere since.
Svenskeren's in trouble. He's going to get dived on here.
Oh, there it is. Assault Battery going down. The Vault Breaker to hit. No. They decide to back off of this one again. So much muscle to be flexed from both of these teams.
Yeah, the amount of fear that Candy Panda's ultimate imbued in Super Hot Crew, Nif wasn't there. Nif was running back from the base. So even at a best case scenario, that would have been a 5v4. But luckily, SHC playing that one safe, they backed up. They didn't want to run the risk of losing more members. And to be very honest with you, this has been quite a weird sort of passage of play, because we've seen both teams trading towers and playing a little bit of a split push game, a little bit of an all-in 5v5 game, but they're not necessarily countering one another. They're both playing their own game, getting wins, and not having it be replied by their opponents.
A tit for tat here and there. It's spelled by the gold right now, 45.7 to 45.2. Really nobody's lead right now, and 4-4 in turrets. And it's just been, I feel like SK has actually kind of controlled the game, because they're positioning right, they're moving right, and SHC is able to be in the right spot at the right time, but it's not happening very often right now.
Yeah, and to be fair, you know, to give Super Hot Crew some credit, they've also made some good plays themselves. You know, they won that convincing team fight in the river. They did pick up, you know, mid turret fairly early on. They did shove down the inner mid turret as well. So they have the potential to go do some invades, but I think they need to think a couple steps ahead. For example, with Dragon coming up in 90 seconds, this would be the right time for Super Hot Crew to group up as 5, work through the jungle with your sweeping lanes and pink wards, clear out vision, and then set up for Dragon. As it stands, though, it's SK that's doing that. You can see SK grouping up around the blue buff and may try to catch out Mimer. You can see Svenskeren coming in from behind. I don't know if they're going to be able to kill him. This is a very beefy Mimer, but they're going to go for it. Here comes Agony's Embrace. They're going in.
Oh, that Deathfire grasp is still going to be doing some pain. They lock it down, but the burnout is going to be able to help him get out of this one. We can see the mid lane being pushed very hard right now in turn.
Yeah, then this is great from Super Hot Crew, realizing that they've got a 4v3. Teleport comes out from Freddy, so he's at least going to be able to defend. Are they going to jump in here? On the hunt, not available. Candy Panda actually burned that in what I can only assume was a retreating maneuver in the mid lane.
And I feel for SHC here. Every time they're mid to push a turret, the minions are nowhere. They're gone. Their timing just not happening.
I'm going to be a little rude about that, because if you were going to push a lane, push it when the minions are there. Yeah. That's one of the things that we see out of the professional level teams, that these teams like Super Hot Crew and the revamped SK need to make sure they work around.
Right.
Work with the map. You've got to feel the ebb and the flow that's going through the minions and the spawn timers.
Right.
And work around it. 10 seconds on the clock for Dragon. I'm a little disappointed at the lack of vision in this area, considering it's about to come up. But SK are now setting up the vision as they've got you know, perfect timing for Dragon, and it looks like Super Hot Crew want to contest.
You already got Mundo in the middle of the fight, no teleport necessary. They're going to back off here and say, you can feel like you can have it, but we'll be right back to engage on that. Maybe they won't.
Very far away.
Maybe they actually won't. No, they're doing another moves. The barrier goes down, so there's one of the ultimates down. That's going to be quite big.
Now, Haydel is in the fight. Thanks to the decision to try pop moops, it's bought time for Haydel's Ezreal to rejoin. He's got his Last Whisper, Bloodthirster, and Triforce completed, and that's
Finally.
a lot of damage. No Death Mark, remember that. SK, Hal looking for the engage. No Agony's Embrace yet.
Dragon is not stolen, but here comes the engagement. It only pulls in Svenskeren, and he dodges the crescendo on the way out. Mimer doing damage on the back line, and it's going to be even trades so far. Svenskeren does finally go down to uneven that. Mimer's somehow alive right now, but he goes down. They were waiting to give it to Candy Panda.
Trading 2 for 2, and Impaler gets out with sub 50 HP. One more light breath of air would have taken him out, but he manages to get out. Here's a replay of the fight. Again, SK trying to focus moves earlier meant that it didn't work out for them. Unfortunately, not going to get that replay as we outbank into live. And it basically pans out that there was no death mark, so Jez's threat to remove a squishy target was no longer there, and it allowed Super Hot Crew to bully their way onto Dragon and actually get out with an even trade. However, because they got Drake, it ends up being in their advantage overall.
It's always that one instance, too. It confuses me. Why'd they wait for Drake to go down? It's like that was the gun shooting off for them to go. Vi was occupied with Dragon. It should have happened. Maybe I'm wrong. Probably. We'll see what they can do in Taylor, trying to clear out these waves. They are still getting pushed in just about every lane. It's almost crossed the river, except for the top one, and that's already pushed to second tier.
And we have to highlight some very big item pickups here on the side of Super Hot Crew. The Randian's Omen has been sitting with Mimer for a couple of minutes. He picked that up a little while ago.
Yeah.
And I love that item against a mobility team of Mundo, Eve, Siva, Karma. Slow down, try to mitigate the power of their abilities through the use of items. And even Mixer's got one. This is a Sona with a Randian's Omen, a Ruby Sightstone, as well as another Ruby Crystal. So that's a pretty beefy target.
He did eventually go sweeper.
Zed and Siva cannot instantly get rid of. So very good item pickup. And as we highlighted, there's now 3 sweepers on the side of Super Hot Crew, 2 sweepers on the side of SK. Now that you're invading and playing the map more, you need to control vision.
The Guardian Angel already coming out here. Well, not already. It is 32 minutes in. These guys have put some work in on this map. It is going to be the Rabadons here. Will Haydale be able to get a few more hits in? You can see Freddy taking some good damage there, and now that Ezreal has that Bloodthirster, he can sustain himself and not really have to hug Sona in the fight. It's only getting better for both teams, but that means the fights are only getting harder.
Now, Candy Pan is pushing bottom lane. He's been shoving that up, and that's signaled Baron for Super Hot Crew. The question is, what do you value more, an inhibitor or a Baron? Freddy's gone in. It does look like a fight's going to break out. Mimer's dived out.
They still on the inhibitor, but it's going to be no Baron taken as the fight breaks out just below. There it goes. The crescendo across does slow it down, but is there enough damage? They're kind of trading back and forth. Health bars are falling, mitigated.
SK are doing fantastic. The inhibitor's about to fall. Now Impaler's re-engaged on the rest of the team. That looked like Agony's Embrace. No Baron and an inhibitor. Candy Panda's not stopping.
Absolutely ridiculous. Keeping them occupied. Oh, the shockwave coming down. He tries to keep them in the fight so they can't get over to Sivir. Candy Panda's still going though. Nexus turret goes down. Vi's the only one to go back. Can Impaler 1v1? I don't see it happening here. They still have the Guardian Angel, and they are now going to try to get back to their base.
Brilliant play from SK Gaming. Candy Panda taking this game in complete control, securing the inhibitor in the bottom lane, and the rest of SK played that fight brilliantly. They didn't allow themselves to get grouped up and completely controlled by the shockwave and the crescendo. They spaced out. They interrupted Super Hot Crew from recalling, and now all of a sudden SK have got a great position to try and focus attention to this Baron.
It's crazy, Quickshot, how much this game continues to show how important the positioning of minions are. If that was in the bottom lane pushed, Sivir couldn't have pushed the turret by herself, and she would have had to been at that Baron, but it's just been crazy in favor of SK, and they're working the lanes as they should.
Yeah, so Super Minions now moving down that bottom lane. And we'll have to see how Super Hot Crew respond. They do have a fair amount of time. If you look at the minimap, it's going to take a long time before those minions actually move all the way up to be a threat to the last remaining Nexus turret. And I think SK are going to try to hold Super Hot Crew at Baron. Even if they do not try to take Baron, if you can allow super minions to deal damage to the turrets, you are gaining advantages that way. So the key here for SK is to play the stall game and to run interference, hold SHC in the palm of their hand.
And this is crazy, because with this initiation coming in on even gold for both teams, and it is going to be a pushback here. SK knows there is still strength in the hands of SHC. And those turrets are what brought SK back into this gold.
That means there is no assault and battery available if a fight breaks out in the next sort of minute and a bit. SK, realizing they have a small advantage in the team fight area, may now decide to apply focus on this tower. If they actually go either the top or the middle lane, knowing that Impaler's hard CC is not as available, is going to allow them to, basically win one of these team fights, having more ultimates available. Does look like the decision is to focus top lane as Impaler reveals himself. They have got
Hey Dale, how's it going, buddy? Does get out. The crescendo goes across, and he may be able to drop Sunskaren. Sunskaren may not be able to get hits in. Freddy is just wreaking havoc as well in the fight. Impaler's trying to get out. It is Migza trying to heal his team, but he's out of mana. It is somewhat working for SK, but it shows even if they're making mistakes in these fights, they can still stay to fight.
And the minions are on the Nexus turret. Impaler's forced back to heal. The rest of SK, even though they lost that fight 2-for-1, that's a massive number of minions on the turret. SK need to get this tower to actually come out positive. They lost 2 members to 1, and they want to get this tower down for it to be an overall win for them.
The teleport here becomes very scary from Freddy as well, because if anybody comes to fight, he's on the Nexus turret. We see this second tier top turret going down. We're only 36 minutes into this game, 13-14. Most of these numbers on the top practically even. And it's just been to the positioning and play of what SK's been able to do.
Overall, Super Hot Crew did pretty well defending that top turret. I think SK Gaming opted to go for kills as opposed to focusing the tower down. They got a lot of damage in Haydel and thought, hey, we can take him, and ended up working to their detriment. Had they just positioned to try to focus down the tower, I think they may have picked it up without losing anybody. Nevertheless, there was some damage applied to that Nexus turret, and Super Hot Crew are a team in the lead as far as kills, a team in the lead as far as gold, yet they are losing on the turrets and the inhibitor front, and that means they have no or less map presence as well.
Dragon now going down to SK. This will be 37, so we'll see that next one at 33-20. Good gold there as it increases as the new Dragon, so they're just giving themselves more and more, but that keeps it even again. They now go to mid lane, and with SHC being able to mitigate everything that's being brought to the table, they have to start working in that positioning game.
Yeah, you can't just give up those dragons. I think Super Hot Crew's had a few good dragon attempts, but you can't afford to give them up. Dragon's worth, I believe, over 1,300 gold now. If my math isn't terrible, once all the average champion levels breaks level 15, it hits its peak cap. And that is a massive amount of gold that you're giving over. Yes, we are approaching 6-item builds, but the first team to hit that 6th item being completed has that power spike plateau window of opportunity where they can, outclass your opponents thanks to additional stats.
Let's see what the AD carries are now trying to put into their belts here. We do have another BF sword coming out, Mercurial Scimitar, and Guardian Angel actually be trying to finish by Haydale here, so he's on a little bit of the catch-up in form of fighting, but he can still put out the damage in form of aggression.
And also very interestingly, Candy Panda relying on his on the hunt plus ricochet attack speed, because he hasn't built additional attack speed yet. This is just really all-in damage. It's really focusing on shredding armor thanks to Black Cleaver, mitigating armor thanks to Last Whisper. And if you look at the amount of armor on your opponent's team, I think it's actually the right build for this situation. And as it stands right now, the super minions no longer spawning in the bottom lane. SK Gaming unable to pick up either the Baron or the top tower once they secure that bottom inhibitor. And we'll have to see how they pan it out. This is the first time they've had a gold lead in a very, very long time.
Mundo still building up on the HP. Giant's Belt coming in for him. Just trying to look around. Everybody stop building damage, at least for the tanks. They are trying to get themselves beefed up for these fights because they are extended. There's more than one spell reel coming out from these guys in these fights now. They're about 10, 20 seconds long.
Third Randian's Omen picked up on the side of Super Hot Crew. They are really, really trying to find ways to control the pace and the tempo of team fights. And I think they need They need to be on point. They can't afford to stack them. They really have to make sure that whichever target's using those Randian's Omens is doing it at the right time. Haydel getting chunked down. That's a support Karma that's hitting that hard. Does have that Aegis of the Legion completed, so also offering defensive stats to the rest of the team. And a stalemate. I think both of these teams trying to figure out how can we make an advantage happen. And it looks like SK wants to do a flank fight.
I feel like SK wants in pretty bad on these fights right now. They are itching. That Sivir ultimate is really going to put them on top with speed and being able to get around, and it looks like the pinch may eventually happen.
Evelyn's the one that you need to keep your eyes on. Agony's Embrace hasn't been used.
Shockwave being locked in on the left side. Mimer's kind of moving in and out of the fight. He's taking good damage, but also wasted a great ultimate there.
Yeah, on the hunt from Candy Panda comes down as well. Crescendo not being used. And look at that, Mixer actually survived that boomerang blade relatively well. Still chunked him pretty hard, but not quite as hard as most supports at the 40-minute mark, that's for sure. And once again, minion wave pushing top. We talked about how you got to play the map. Now all of a sudden SK feel that maybe they can challenge for it, but they don't have Deathmark, they don't have On the Hunt, and they don't have Dr. Mundo's sadism either.
Still trying to get damage onto these turrets. The bottom lane inhibitor has respawned. Forgot to mention that, but that lane won't be pushing anymore. And you can see it's actually helped SHC to guard these turrets. It's a lot slower in damage, but the fact that SK can still get consistent damage isn't spelling good things.
The problem here is that SK is allowing Super Hot Crew to continue to get more tanky and beefy.
Yeah.
While SK has more damage threats, SHC has more tank ability. And the real question is going to be whether or not Super Hot Crew can survive the onslaught of this mostly glass cannon builds from SK Gaming. And the longer this goes, I think the more I prefer Super Hot Crew. We're having the ability to sustain in a tower and lock down with Shockwave and Crescendo.
Whoa,
this may be a fight.
Huge initiation coming in to Deathfire Grasp as well from Svenskeren. The Assault Battery down into Candy Panda. That is down. They have to focus something else for that rebirth of the Guardian Angel, and it looks like they are going to be able to take him down. Moops is turning tail, but the team now regroups, and he's able to force it back around the flash in. They do not all hit the dissonance, and they can't catch up.
Trading AD carry for AD carry, but now Freddy wants to try and re-engage. Does get into Cleaver or two, but it's not going to be enough. And, you know, SK picked that fight. SK came in from behind, instantly pop Hadel, lose Candy Panda in reply, through his Guardian Angel, I might add, and you end up trading 1-for-1. The fight wasn't the best of circumstances for SK Gaming. They didn't really deal with the tankiness of that Vi and Shyvana, and it cost them.
I'm not sure that they like that fight very much. They see that, as you said, SHC getting a lot bigger here from being able to farm these waves. A Nexus turret went down a good 10 minutes ago, and nothing else has really come of it.
It just feels like SK aren't entirely sure how they can play this game out. And I think if I were in their shoes, what I would be focusing on would be the vision game right now. You can notice a number of pink wards in their inventories, not so many green wards. And there's actually been a lack of warding on the objectives over the last sort of 5 or 10 minutes. And I think vision into plays is what counts. There, SK just ran down the mid lane.
Right.
You know, Super Hot Crew were pushing his 5, and they're like, we can get them from behind. Oh no, and they had to run away. And I don't think that's going to work again. They really need to pick better angles and better ways to engage as Impaler.
No one saw that.
Impaler is a lumberjack and tries to cut the trees down. Not working out this time.
Doesn't work quite well with your fist, but he is going to go around and see that it was for naught. Wouldn't have really had it. And maybe a dragon for them, though, if they can push themselves off, get a little bit of gold there. Nobody has really grabbed a huge gold lead in this game, which completely surprises me, especially with Nexus turrets being down. And it looks like the initiation could come in. The ball is still on Impaler, but they don't want to use too much on Freddy, so it's a stalemate here. They now continue. They find Jez in the back, but will it be enough? He still has the Guardian Angel. Wait to the back line is Mimer. He is on a Candy Panda, but he is in a 3v1 now, and he doesn't like it.
Yeah, they've split up entirely. We do see that Mimer is down, and Freddy has been able to zone with the help of Jez.
Very good job. Moves a 3-man Shockwave. They could turn it around. Migza trying to put himself in the front. He wants to eat all the damage for his team with that lock it on, and it looks like they're able to pull this one around very well. More kills to come in. Hadel getting himself fed up.
Fantastic turnaround. The power of that Shockwave. SK Gaming did not anticipate that it was still available. Grouped up, got caught. Now Super Hot Crew losing 1-for-4 should be able to secure the inhibitor. Now you actually see Mixer tanking that up with a massive amount of armor that he has, and this is going to allow Super Hot Crew to take control of game 1.
Very nice, very nicely done there. They were waiting and waiting, and to be able to coordinate that. Oh, Candy is always going to be in trouble. The Guardian Angel Ezreal chasing, blue buff, red buff. He's going to get out with the use of his ultimate, though. But to be able to coordinate after the chaos of a huge attack like that from Svenskeren was amazing.
Once again, in the promotion matches, we see an Orianna ultimate changing the tempo of a fight. Here's a breaking out, and there's two key things to keep note of. Freddy running interference with the help of Jezzes. And that's the point I want to highlight. That's 2 members of SK holding back Super Hot Crew in the top half of the map. As we scroll to, you see Mima zoning out the rest of SK Gaming. Jezzes gets focused down. They've held 4 of them away, but they didn't kill anybody. There was no threat. And this is the fight-changing moment. Shockwave hitting Nif, Sven Skjæren, and just removing him. Candy Panda no longer has On the Hunt available, doesn't have the movement speed buff, and thanks to the constant movement speed increases of Sona and Orianna, you're not going to run away, you're not going to get away. And Super Hot Crew just chase them down, close out the fight, secure inhibitor, and now they want to try and set up in and around the Baron pits.
That's kind of something to specifically focus on in your games, is closing out the game. How do you do that? You either win the game or the other team makes it hard for you. It's really a hit or miss situation that you're involved in.
Freddy actually burned his teleport for that. I think they're trying to maybe set up a fight or hoping to get in that involved. And thank you very much. Hearing from production that a dragon was actually secured by Super Hot Crew during the course of that replay, as we did miss that one on stream. And the one thing that I want to highlight here is that Candy Panda's movement speed at default is 380. With no movement speed buff, he can't run away. Now we'll see if this works out as Freddy is engaging on Baron.
Freddy gets hit up quite hard. He's getting pushed around, but they're focusing quite a bit on him for the damage being returned. He tries to get to the back line there. It's going to be Freddy still in the mix. 5 people on Freddy, 1, 2, 2. Finally going down, the double kill coming in. And it looks like they're going to be able to turn a good amount of speed burst steroid coming in from Nif, but will it be able to happen again? The red buff is not on Haydale. He does have the blue to shift in and continue. There it is onto Candy Panda. They are going to force him into their base and probably get something good out of this.
This could be game right now. Super Hot Crew, they're going all in. Haydale is going forward with that arcane shift. They're going to drop down Candy Panda. He actually survives thanks to that spell shield. They're on the Nexus sides. Super Hot Crew have done it. They picked up game 1.
And that's something good is going to be the victory. A very nicely done and played game towards the end. The credit is only given there. Both teams struggling in that first part of the game to figure out what they wanted to do.
You have to call out SK for that final engage. They approached the Baron pit. They had super minions down the mid lane. It was a slightly sloppy engage. Freddy teleported in early. You know, all of Super Hot Crew were grouped up. They had 2 members of SK trying to come from the blue buff area, a few from the river. And it didn't seem like they were all on exactly the same page. And I also feel the lack of movement speed, in addition to those Berserkers creeps from Sivir, just allowed him to get chased down so quickly. He was reliant on his team's buffs to keep him out of distance and out of range, and it just wasn't enough.
Sometimes when you see those games, you can almost see that formulate. And you're like, if we can hold out, we can do this. And you're like, yeah, maybe. And then you're like, wow, this is really coming to fruition. Like, everything is actually going to happen. And at that point, I said, 10 minutes ago, we lost the Nexus turret, and nothing happened of it. How is that possible?
The mid to late game decision making for SK, in my mind, is what cost them that game. They had an inhibitor down. They were pushing on Baron. They had map control. And I feel like they squandered it. I feel like they didn't.
They said that was enough.
Yes. You know, we've seen them try to push the top lane tower. And while doing so, Haydale took damage. They're like, well, we can win this fight.
Right.
Then they went in for the fight. They ended up losing the fight, not getting the tower, and then played passively for another 10 minutes, which just allowed Super Hot Crew to get back in the game. I really feel like they need to have more objective-based decision-making in the 30-plus minute mark to have turned that around.
With that inhibitor coming back up, you thought maybe the focus would go down there. They're not going to go for Baron. They want to guard the inhibitor because that's really when they were getting the damage on that top turret. When Shyvana wasn't there, they were able to spread them thin and just work it to their advantage. But really, in the beginning, SHC, I think, realized themselves. They're like, hey, guys, we have no minions when we're pushing these lanes. We need to regroup, and we need to get the money under our belts to do this without minions, or we need to wait.
The thing I also like about the 2 team comps that we've seen is, you know, we highlighted right at the beginning. I actually said that Super Hot Crew was sort of playing a more 2013 season comp. You know, the Orianna, you know, Sona, Ezreal. But the one thing that was nice is the way that they itemized. You know, Sona with Randy and Zoman, thanks to all the additional gold, you know, picking up that ancient coin, selling the Spell Thief's Edge, held that for 15, 20 odd minutes, sold it in favor of the coin, then working up towards the talisman. I think they itemized very well, and in their team fights, they didn't waste their ultimates. They didn't, it was always calculated, you know, that the very last deciding team fight, Impaler's like, I'm going to use Assault and Barrier, but I'm only using it on Jezzes. He's the dude I want to shut down.
He brought, took him out of the fight. And then, how long was Shockwave held for? Maybe it wasn't up in the beginning of the fight, but towards the end of the fight. So it's a lot of coordination, communication that they seem to switch on towards the end of the game there.
This was also a match that many of the public felt SK Gaming were going to win. I think it was a 60-odd percent.
70%?
70%. 70 to 30 in favor of SK. We'll have to see if they go on tilt, because there are some members of the team that have been known to not perform well once the heat gets turned up.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got to take a quick break.